So I'm David Bodary, and I teach in the communication department, and I've been a faculty member in that department for the last 22, almost 23 years. But I have a number of other sort of capacities that I serve the college in, and currently I'm also the service learning coordinator, helping to connect the dots between service opportunities in the community and either classroom faculty-based needs or student-specific needs as it relates to service opportunities connected to learning. So I went to school at Eastern Michigan University for my undergraduate degree, which is about 25 minutes from where I grew up as a child. And then from there, I attended Purdue University for a little while, starting a master's program, but I didn't finish at Purdue. Instead, I moved back to the Detroit area and finished my master's, and then I went on for a PhD at Wayne State University. Purdue really lit the fire for me, though, in the sense that it made me realize that, one, teaching was a career, and it was something that I could do and I could enjoy, but also that there was something I could do pretty well. If it weren't for the opportunity that Purdue gave me, I don't think that I would have realized teaching was available to me as a career option. But once I had that taste of it, I wanted to get back to it. And so finishing the master's was inevitable, and immediately I went into the PhD program at Wayne State because I realized that, man, this was really something I wanted to do. So how do I end up at Sinclair is a great question, because really it was one of those odd, strange occurrences. I was at Wayne State finishing up with my coursework, and I think I was in the process of taking my comprehensive exams, and a fellow grad student came back from interviewing at Sinclair and said, "Oh, I was at this school in the middle of Ohio, and it was like not at all what she was looking for." She says, it had this tunnel that students would travel through like they were hamsters, and it served this urban population, and it was a community college. And she said all of these things in a way that was kind of like, well, gosh, it doesn't sound interesting to her, but it sounded exactly like what I was looking for. I was looking for anything between Detroit and Dayton, since my wife grew up in the Dayton region, and my family was in Detroit. I was thinking that an urban campus, community college would be a really good fit for me. And so I wrote the chair of the department right away and asked if the position might still be open and might there be a chance for me to interview. And one thing led to another. They interviewed me, they offered me the job, and I started in the fall of 1994 when our second child was born. And it just was such a perfect fit for our family at the time. And unbeknownst to me at the time, coming from out of town, Sinclair was this amazing place. And I got to be a part of continuing that tradition, and it was awesome. I often tell my students that I didn't really choose to be a teacher, that teaching chose me. And what I mean by that is kind of like in Harry Potter with the sorting hat, right? The hat goes on the head and it kind of announces what house each of those students will be in. I was at a career night while I was in high school, and we went to the local community college, and we were assigned to go to a particular room depending on what career interest we thought we had. And I can't even tell you what I thought I was interested in at the time, but in that room there was probably 10 other people and nobody else showed up. So there were these students interested in a career field, but no person from that career showed up. And I was not going to just sit there, and so I walked to the front of the room and I just started conversing with people and asking people about what were they thinking about and what were their ideas about a career and why did they choose that. And I remember distinctly the room itself was like an automotive room. They had an engine from a Volkswagen Flat 4 in the room, and we talked a little bit about that. And I mean, really, we just started a conversation. And in many ways, for me, that's what I've been doing ever since, is starting conversations, getting people talking about what it is that they enjoy, and then, of course, moving that into the public speaking realm. I have students give speeches about, what are the interesting questions in their lives. So it really started on that day when I went to hear somebody else speak, but they didn't show, and so I walked to the front of the room. So service learning is a central part of who I am, and for me, it's been a natural part of sort of my extension to the college, and something that I feel like I can contribute. It's so enjoyable for me to help connect the dots between community needs people that I meet in the community that I recognize are doing good work but need support. And then the student opportunity, students who are looking for an opportunity to serve in a capacity, maybe a capacity that helps them understand their community better, or maybe a way in which they can better understand a career direction, something that they think they might like but they're not sure. And so students who think they might like to work with animals, I direct them to volunteer their time at SICSA. And all of a sudden that either confirms or disconfirms their interest in working with animals. Or maybe they really like animals but not sick animals. And so veterinary science might not be a great choice for them, but there maybe is something else that they realize could be a really good fit for them. In the same way, I have students that are just really uncertain about what it is that they think they want to do. And so through service learning, they discover career directions, career fields, whole industries that open up to them because their limited exposure they hadn't realized what was possible in the world. And through service learning, they begin to come to understand all the many possibilities. Regularly, I have students who are surprised that nonprofit organizations actually pay their employees. Well, of course they pay their employees. It seemed obvious to me, my wife having worked in nonprofit work and my being a volunteer in that world, I knew there were people that had jobs in that industry, but some of our students didn't realize it. And so once they realize it, they begin to realize, wow, so I could work in the same area that I volunteer and I enjoy and I find fulfillment. And I could get paid to do that? That's amazing. And so we've had a number of people that gone through Sinclair's program. One I think of right away, Liz Kelly, works over at the food bank. And she was a Sinclair employee, or a Sinclair student, and then did AmeriCorps, and through that began to kind of open up to the world of nonprofit, did some work with Habitat, and now she works at the food bank here in Dayton. She's awesome. So what makes me me? I'm obviously a dad, and I'm super proud of my kids. I'm super proud of my wife. One of the things that makes it work for my family, and that's so important in my life, is that my sort of stability with a predictable schedule and some flexibility has allowed my wife to really do some cool stuff. And so for a while she worked in Columbus, which was a long commute, and we sometimes might not see her before 8 o'clock at night, but because of my flexibility, we could make that work. Family's a huge part of my life, and we're about to go to a wedding in Canada this weekend. This will be the 4th of 21 sort of relatives of mine, my brother's children or my own. And it's just really fun. We're looking forward to that exciting time. I'm beginning to enjoy gardening, and so there's some things that I'm trying to explore with respect to gardening. I think it'd be fun to grow hops, and maybe then with some friends, make some beer and see what I could do with that. And a number of my friends know that I play hockey over at the Kettering Rec, part of the Old Man Hockey League there called Huff and Puff, which is exactly what we do. We huff and we puff and spend about 2 minutes on the ice, and then we're exhausted and we sit down and the next guy goes. So it's a ton of fun, and it's the only exercise I really love, but that's something that I continue to do and hope to do for a few more years anyway. Part of what makes me me, in a way, is the opportunity that I have in the classroom to work with students. And I teach in the communication department. I teach mostly public speaking classes, although I enjoy teaching some of the other classes the department offers. But in a public speaking class, students really learn to find their voice. They learn that not only do they sort of have something to say, but they have the ability to say it. And hopefully through the course, they learn to say it well, so that others come to understand their perspective and perhaps are even persuaded by some of the things that they might offer or say. I think that idea of voice is so important. And once we find our voice, I think then we often find opportunity. And those opportunities then lead to jobs or connections, networks that maybe, for many of us, hopefully lead to fulfillment, right? Either in career or family or whatever. So I really love it when I can help those students recognize what's great about them already and just help kind of make more of that come out to find that voice.